Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. We're on the air. Welcome to Hot Mic. It's an inside joke for those that missed our show yesterday. A little power bump that we were delayed to start, so we're on time today on this 4th day of August, 2026. It is bright and blue outside. It is fantastic, by the way. After dealing with the mugginess of the last, 2 to 3 weeks, to step outside when I took the dog out, I'm like, let's go. That at a little fall-like feel this morning felt tremendous. And for those of you that are out golfing this morning, I'm jealous because it's a perfect day to be outside to do pretty much anything this morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our show. I am Dom Izzo, host of said program on a Tuesday morning. We got a lot to get to today. We are nearing the end of summer for those that celebrate on the high school side of things in North Dakota. You have T-minus about 36 hours left before high school football practices begin across the state. Soccer as well, golf, volleyball not that far away either. That will all be thrown into the pool before not too long, with the first games in North Dakota beginning on football 2 weeks from Friday. Crazy, but we are on the doorstep of that, so we'll discuss that coming up later on in the program. It's a huge baseball week here in town. I know we're all talking football. We're geeked up for that. But obviously we saw over the weekend that Fargo Post 2 won the Legion Championship. Again, congrats to Luke Rustad and his squad. They're heading to the Central Plains Regional, which gets going later this week in Mandan. The Fargo Little Leaguers leave, I believe, tomorrow for Indianapolis and the Central Regional there. We're going to have a couple of the coaches here in studio. That's become a summertime tradition on our program ever since we started doing this, to have the Little Leaguers by to get ready for the road to Williamsport. Of course, they made it to Williamsport in 2023. They were a win away from going back last year, and that's a perfect segue to the Fargo 13-year-olds who are playing in the Intermediate World Series right now out in California. That if you didn't stay up late last night, we'll show you this in just a few minutes. They won again and are now in firm control. They are in the winner's bracket. They win again tomorrow night. They'll play for the United States Championship with a chance to win the whole bleeping thing. They've had quite the couple games. Late nights for those of us watching back here in the Central Time Zone, but they've had a ton of fun out in California. So the baseball, as we say, and we had Kason Borkhardt on yesterday from West Fargo, who's bound for Georgia Tech. I saw a few of our clips that we posted with his interview. Friends at Atlanta were certainly geeked up to have North Dakota's top baseball prospect heading their way. So baseball is in a good spot right now in this state. As for Twins fans that reside in the upper Midwest, they wake up today that their baseball team didn't sit on their hands, right? So if you're a pull-at attacker, if you're not a fan of who owns the baseball team, right, you can't wake up this morning and say, well, we didn't do anything, right? They did not subtract anything from the Major League roster, which that is good, bad, or indifferent. I'll leave that up to the fans to interpret. I know how I feel about it, which if you're in it, you don't want to see anybody leave. I remember when Brian Dozier got traded, whatever year that was, 17 or 18, I think it was 17, and they made the wild card because I think they had no intention of contending. And what ended up happening, they won, 30 games over the last, 6 weeks of the season and made the wild card. in, I think 2017, I want to say that was. They didn't do that this time around. They added. Now, you can quibble with who they added or lament on what the players they brought in, because there's no headline guys, but they didn't sit on their hands. And there's too often I have covered trade deadlines with the Twins where they did nothing or added the likes of Trevor Richards like they did a couple years ago. That didn't go over so well. Or you can go back, whatever it was, 2010, when they traded Wilson Ramos for Matt Capps. We all know how that went over. They had made a couple of reliever moves. Obviously bringing in A.J. Minter on Friday for the New York Mets. Dean Kramer they brought in for the Baltimore Orioles as a starter. They made one trade right before the horn yesterday, and that was with the Toronto Blue Jays, as they traded Jeff Hoffman for Jeff Hoffman, a guy who was with the Twins, who they let go a couple years ago, for 3 prospects. Hoffman comes at a hefty salary as well. This is after they couldn't get Brian Abreu from the Houston Astros. They bring in Hoffman for these 3 guys. The one you want to know is Dason Hill, the lefty, who I'm sure Twins fans are probably losing their collective minds over on how hard he throws the baseball, nearly at 100 miles per hour. And he's left-handed. That's why I think Blue Jay fans this morning are probably ecstatic over the fact they got him. His ERA has not been great so far this year, but that's the deal there. John Klein, who goes over from Minnesota as well, who's a native of the Minnesota, who they part ways with as well, and bring in Hoffman. Now, Hoffman, this is I want to say controversial trade. 6-7 on the year. His ERA is near 4. Only has 5 saves. If you're a baseball nut, you know who this guy is. He was the closer for the Blue Jays a year ago when they won the American League pennant, and he was on the mound in Game 7 with 1 out in the top of the 9th inning. He gave up the home run to Miguel Rojas that tied the game for the Dodgers. The Blue Jays were 2 outs away from winning the World Series. This is the guy that gave up the tying home run. He had lost his job as closer as well, ironically enough, to Louis Varland. Why can't the Twins find players like Louis Varland? Now, according to the Star Tribune, that Hoffman was one of the Twins' primary targets. He'll slide into a leading role alongside fellow right-handers Yoandres Gomez and Andrew Morris. Hoffman's 33 years old. Jeremy Zoll, the general manager, deferred to Derek Shelton about whether Hoffman will be used as a closer. Of course, we mentioned he blew Game 7 of the World Series, and he lost the closer's job to Varland, who became an all-star this year. But now with the additions that the Twins have made on the back end of their bullpen, they have some better matchups that they can attack with that they had prior to these deadline moves, specifically with Minter being a left-hander, joining Funderburk out there, and now in Hoffman's role on the back end. Blue Jays are going to pay about $3 million of his salary, which is near 11, on the prospect deal. Hill's 20 years old. He was the number 69 overall pick in the 2024 draft. Brooklyn Park native John Klein and high A infielder Damari Pena are leaving. Hill is the number 8 prospect in the Twins farm system. And we discussed this with Corey Provis on Friday's show. The Twins have a loaded farm system. I know you've heard this before, Twins fans. I get it. But they didn't give up a Kalen Culpepper. They didn't give up an Emmanuel Rodriguez. They didn't give up Walker Jenkins of any of that caliber. So you got to be good on that. Hill has walked. His ERA is nearly 6. That's why I think some Twins fans are like, okay, but you got to give up something to get something, right? That's the old adage. 5.80 earned run average, struck out 77 batters in 45 innings. The Twins were willing to trade one of their best pitching prospects for Hoffman, who's in the second year of his 3-year, $33 million contract. Ironic, because the Twins weren't going to give him that kind of money when he was a free agent a couple years ago, because he would have been perfect for what the Twins were looking for. They're on the hook for $3.4 million that Hoffman is owed this year. He'll make $11 million next year, with the Twins covering $7.25 and the Blue Jays going $3.75 million to pay him in 2027, if there is a baseball season next year. In total, the Twins added $8.35 million to their payroll through the 3 trades over the last week. Zoll said the ability to add payroll was huge, crediting owner Tom Pohlad. So, I don't know how you feel this morning, if this is anything that moves the needle. As they start play today, they're 4 games back of the White Sox. The Twins were off last night. They open up a series with Kansas City. And Joe Ryan, Randy Dobnak going. Dobnak was sensational last week in shutting down the Twins. The Twins needed 2 near-miracle walk-off wins to not be swept by Kansas City a week ago. And then it's on to Milwaukee. And the Brewers are the best team going again in the National League. They are fit to be tied again, that they're going to be really, really good. And then after that, you've got to make some hay. Granted, the division isn't necessarily running away from you, but you've got to win series after this. The Orioles are in town. Baltimore has given up. Baltimore is not in contention in 2026. Then the Phillies. Philadelphia's really good. After they canned their manager, brought in Don Mattingly, the Phillies have turned their whole season around. And then Atlanta, who's the best team in the National League East. Then San Diego. You got good teams coming here. Remember, they still have 2 more trips to the West Coast. They went out there this past weekend for Seattle. They still have to go to San Diego and I believe Sacramento, because they haven't played the A's on the road yet this year. And then we're basically to September. And you still have another trip out west in September near the end of the season. So they made moves. We'll see what happens. They didn't subtract from the Major League roster. Trevor Larnach was dangled out there, obviously, with the Astros, and that didn't come to pass. So Ryan Jeffers is on the team. Now, what they do afterwards, you have to imagine Jeffers isn't going to be a Twin in 2027. You know, if they extend the qualifying offer to him and they just get a draft pick, I think there's some that might not be thrilled on that return, knowing full well that if they were to make him available before the deadline, that they could have got a pretty good haul for Ryan Jeffers. They opted not to do that. I know I got a few responses on that yesterday on the Jeffers play, that they decided not to move him on. If this means Jeremy Zoll has the go-ahead to give Jeffers the qualifying offer after the season, cool. Because if Jeffers just walks for nothing, no one values a platoon cornerback more than this front office. And 3, they're not keeping 3 catchers on this roster still, right? That's the response that I got yesterday on the news, that they were trading for Jeff Hoffman and not moving off anybody from the Major League roster. So we shall see. Begins tonight with Kansas City. There were a few teams. San Diego was aggressive. There were some teams we thought that were out of it that were pretty aggressive. Padres went and got Robbie Ray from the Giants. I mean, it's not common you see teams trading in the division to bolster somebody else. And the Mets made 8 trades. The Mets, for how bad they've been this season, they moved off 8 guys off the Major League roster. 8! Clay Holmes, David Peterson, Tyrone Taylor, one of my favorites. They got a couple of prospects. I didn't like they traded Luke Weaver, who's a really good reliever for them. He's moving on to Pittsburgh. If you're all in 2027, which they say they are, trading some of those guys didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But Benell's guy, David Stearns, is running us and maybe running us into the ground. We'll see. Last thing before we get going. Again, I mentioned this off the top of the show. If you didn't stay up late last night on ESPN Plus, I mentioned the Fargo 13-year-olds are playing in the Intermediate World Series. And again, for those that aren't following this is under Little League's branch, right, under their arms. They have, obviously, the main World Series, but this is also sanctioned by Little League, where it's called the 50-70 World Series, where the pitching mound is 50 feet away from the batter and the bases are 70 feet apart from one another. So it's a bigger field. They play 7 innings instead of 6 like Little League does. Fargo's team qualified for the first time. They won their opening game over a team from Pennsylvania on Sunday night. So they're in the winner's bracket last night playing a team from Louisiana. And much like what happened in their game on Sunday night, they fell behind. But this team has got some ball players on it. They just keep scratching runs together. They did it here in the 3rd inning when the bases were low. They're down 3-0. Get a bases loaded hit by pitch. Got an RBI ground out. Then they get an opposite field 2-run single. That put them up 4-3. All this happened, by the way, with 2 outs in the inning. They weren't done. Then a little ground ball to short. Should be the end of the inning, right? The throw gets away. 1 run comes in. Another run comes in. They get 6 runs in the 3rd inning. Completely flipped the game here to go up 6-3. Louisiana cut it to 6-5. They get a bases-loaded walk, drive in an extra run. Always love the insurance runs late in the game. It's 7-5. Now Louisiana puts 2 runners on in the top of the 7th. Their last licks, but this, the final out. And the Fargo kids do it again. They win it 7-5. So they stay undefeated. They will play the host team from California coming up tomorrow night, 9 o'clock again on ESPN Plus. If they win that game, they're moving into the U.S. Championship game. It's as simple I can tell you on that. That's how well they've played so far. And then they'd only need 1 win to get to the championship, which would be on Sunday. You saw some of the parents that are out there that are got to be having the time of their life. Obviously, the kids are as well. And staying up late and playing ball. What better is that than you have that when you're 13 years old? So they will play the host team from Livermore, California, who won 16-6 in their game. The reason why, there was a couple of games that just went long yesterday. So their game, I don't think, started till almost 10 o'clock Central Time. It didn't get over till near midnight last night. But I saw early on, and frankly, I fell asleep when they were down 3-0, and I woke up and they were up 6-3. I'm like, whoa, what happened here? And then watch them close out and get the victory. So they'll play coming up again tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, against the hosts from California. Congrats to those guys. Having a lot of fun. We have a packed show coming up for you here on this Tuesday morning. Our guest lineup is brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. Coming up here in just a few minutes, our guy Mike McFeely will join us in studio. Talk plenty on Bison ticket sales underway. 1 game is now officially sold out. Wyoming is donezo. A few other games have some tickets still to sell. We'll talk with Mike. He wrote a column about that in the forum this morning. That's coming up at 9:35. In our second hour, we'll be joined in studio by the Fargo Little League head coaches, Eric Grande and Brandon Hayes will join us. Eric, of course, has coached this team prior, as they will leave. This is the 12U group here, just for keeping score at home. They leave, I believe, tomorrow for Indianapolis in the Central Regional and trying to get to Williamsport. Everyone knows the Little League World Series. Fargo's back in it with their all-star team. They'll join us here in studio at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, one of our faves, Troy Mattern will join us also in studio today as North Dakota high school football practice opens on Thursday. Back for another year with Shanley after a disappointing end to 2025. Of course, they missed the postseason. We'll look ahead to 2026 and always talk some big picture topics with Troy in studio. Looking forward to that at about 10:35. So, an action-packed show to get to here on a Tuesday morning. We'll take our first break. We come back. We'll check in Eagan as the Vikings are well underway. And also, just a weird story in the world of broadcasting we have to talk about as well. Hot Mike is off and rolling. We're back after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com after this. Off we go here on a Tuesday morning. Glad you're joining us. The Forum's Mike McFeely will join us in about 10 minutes' time. Looking forward to our conversation, as always, with Mike. All right, so we are officially a week into Vikings camp, where the nonstop dripping of somewhat information will be coming out regarding the quarterbacks. Yesterday, I caught this late yesterday afternoon. Vikes 2-minute drill yesterday. They had their first padded practice yesterday. Team ended with a 2-minute drill. J.J. McCarthy was with the ones, threw an interception in that period. Connor Murray was with the twos, didn't complete a pass in that period. Defense dominated overall. Another report, 2-minute drill for J.J. McCarthy went about as poorly as possible. PBU, false start, interception by Byron Murphy Jr. Not ideal. The Athletic has out today, which is really cool stuff from Mike Sando, who does a great job covering the NFL, tiered the quarterback rankings, speaking with executives around the league, and has 4 tiers. Each voter placed 35 veteran quarterbacks into 5 tiers, from the best, tier 1, to the worst, tier 5. Quarterbacks are then ranked by average vote and placed into tiers. The survey excludes rookies because voters have not seen them play in the NFL. In the typical tier 1, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Stafford, Joe Burrow. Tier 2 is Lamar, Herbert, Dak, Drake May, which I'd have some objections to that. Goff, Jordan Love, Purdy, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Baker, Darnold, Trevor Lawrence is in that group. Then you've got to scroll a bit before you get to any Vikings. Tier 3 is where Kyler Murray finds himself in, with a group of Daniel Jones and C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. And they said for Kyler Murray, offensive coach says, quote, he'll have better players around him than he's ever had in Arizona. I think we all would agree on that summation. Jackson Dart is in that group as well. And then get to tier 4, you've got the likes of Malik Willis there, my guy Geno, Deshaun Watson, who you think he's going to play, Penix, Jacoby Brissett, and then there's one J.J. McCarthy. One exec is quoted as saying is knocking down the expectation a little bit more fair to the player. Also added in there, an offensive coach that was quoted saying, anonymously though, football looks hard for him. Of course, playing quarterback in the NFL is hard, but McCarthy walked into an enviable situation. The Vikings have arguably the league's best receiver in Justin Jefferson and a highly regarded play-calling coach in Kevin O'Connell. You just look like everything was stacked anyway that Kyler Murray is going to be the guy when the Vikings play their season opener. The question I have, are any of these guys going to play in the preseason? That has not been something O'Connell has done, but they play 2 weeks from Saturday. They play the Giants. Do they lift the Band-Aid and say, okay, we need to see something in the actual game? I know they do the joint practices now, and that's basically what the preseason games have turned into, are these joint practices, but you've got to get something, I would think, with actual, pads and actual playing, but who knows? We'll see. I got an email, a couple of these. It said, Dom, you got to talk about this. And I was planning on it, and then we've got a full guest lineup, so I'm going to try and get it in now. Yesterday, Bill Murray's son is the new men's basketball coach at Boston College. His name is Luke Murray. And made some headlines in the worst possible way. He has fired the longtime men's basketball broadcasters that have called the games at BC. Kevin Collins and Josh Maurer have called BC basketball together for 9 years. Collins has done it for 13 seasons across 3 different head coaches and 5 ADs. Murray's reason is he didn't want anyone in his program's orbit who'd been associated with the previous coaching staff. I've never heard of that before. He's an assistant under Dan Hurley at UConn. He was hired by BC in March to replace Earl Grant, who was 72 and 92 in his 5 years at Boston College. Boston College has been a train wreck in men's basketball for a long time. Evidently, both broadcasters had spent the spring and summer trying to introduce themselves to Murray or arrange even a brief call after he was arrived in late March, as according to Awful Announcing, and were kept at arm's length each time. Neither broadcaster ever got that meeting. I was always told either Coach Murray is off recruiting or we have an official visit today, and it's not a good day. We've got a lot going on. When that didn't work, Collins said again he tried to, again through his boss at Van Wagner. That's like the Learfield of Boston College. They're the ones who have the deal with the school. And they determine who broadcasts the game. Learfield determined that that Sam Niederman and Andy Rickoff do the games for Bison 1660. When that didn't work, Collins said again he tried through his boss at Van Wagner, offering to have a catered lunch delivered to the coaching staff in exchange for 15 minutes to break the ice. That angle didn't work either, Collins said. We didn't get any reply on that. That distance from the new staff wasn't for lack of trying to clarify their status either. In the months following Murray's hire, both broadcasters repeatedly asked their boss, Mike Wynn, to relay word from Van Wagner, which owns the multimedia rights to Boston College basketball games, whether the new coaching staff wanted someone who could commit to calling every game, given the heightened attention the coaching change had brought to the program. Each time they were told the current arrangement was fine and no change was coming, an assurance that held from the end of March all the way until last week. Schools can make their own decisions on who they want to have broadcast the games. I'm not quibbling that. I'm not disputing that. I am disputing that having anyone attached to the old staff somehow taints the program is preposterous. I say that as a complete bias. I am a broadcaster. I would have, if NDSU decides next year that they have new coaches, that Jordy Collins and Dave Richmond both move on, right? And they don't want their television broadcast by myself, I would have a problem with that. If they wanted to change the radio guys because they weren't the guys that he or she wants as head coach, as the broadcaster, come on. You coach the team, right? Don't worry about who's broadcasting the games. And typically, I would say this, on radio, they are much more favorable to be, and I'll say homers, they will be much more kind to the home broadcast than anybody else. And the fact you got rid of them? Because how much does the broadcasters, by the way, have any effect of what actually happens on the floor? They're not coaching. It's preposterous to me. I hope there's more to this story than has come out, and I would beg Luke Murray to get in front of a microphone today and get in front of this, because this is going to get some national steam. Totally. A, because of the name, and B, because of the reasoning given. Somebody better get in front of this ASAP. It's just preposterous. Come on. Let's break. When we come back, our guy Mike McFeely will join us. We're going to chat some Bison ticket sales going on, also impressions from the first week of Bison Fall Camp, and what else comes under our purview. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns on WDAY Extra after this.
This is Hot Mike with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Oh, it's Mr. McFeely.
I have seen the future, and he was wearing number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimsley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Let's do some broadcasting.
Yeah. Mike's appearance on Hot Mike is brought to you by Sunset Lanes of Moorhead.
Yeah, there we go. As our guy Mike McFeely joins us on a bright and blue Tuesday morning. Good morning to you. How are you doing, brother?
By the way, you still have 1 month to take advantage of it's $40.
Get in there.
Get in there.
Right?
Go buy your $40 membership to get ready for League, which begins in September, and I cannot wait.
Monday nights again?
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Yep.
Column headline, McFeely, Bison sellout Wyoming game. Now time to get cracking on Jack's State. Yes, yesterday the NDSU ticket office announced that the Wyoming game, the homecoming game, is officially sold out.
Yep.
So that's good news on that front. Jacksonville State has still some tickets available. I think you said about 1,000.
1,400.
Yeah, 1,400.
13
and then
something.
There's still more, obviously, for Nevada, Fordham, and Northern Illinois. And I guess we were talking about this briefly when we were up at practice yesterday, and I'll get you now to expound more on it. Were you thinking that this would be snapped up immediately, like 8 a.m. Saturday morning, that they would be gone?
No. I thought the Jacksonville State game, though, would be sold out within a week. And there's still time for that to happen.
Tuesday.
It seems like it's
trending in that way.
Yep. And so, but no, I didn't think like every ticket was going to be gone right away. And if again, I have no life. So I spend time looking at the NDSU ticket website. When I'm sitting there, watching the Twins or something, I'll be poking on my phone. And it does look to my naked eye, because I've done this for years, that they're selling more tickets this year than they have in past years. As we've said for many years, it wasn't just us. And if you talk to people around the community, like they were just tired of seeing not the same teams. That's what just teams that were just not good, that couldn't compete with NDSU. I've gotten this discussion with the former head coach Matt Entz before, and he's like, well, it's every college football team plays the same teams. I said, but it's not that necessarily. It's that Murray State, to keep picking on them. And they took some strays in Vegas, by the way. There's like 3 head coaches who mentioned Murray State being really bad. But I don't mean to pick on the fine people of Murray, Kentucky. It was a nice place, great people. Jody Wright's awesome. But they're just never going to be any good.
No.
Not
in that conference.
No. I mean, they're an Ohio Valley Conference team, right?
Yep.
And Northern Iowa's not ever going to be good again, at least in my lifetime. Unless South Dakota State, UND leave the conference, and go, then Northern Iowa would probably move up the ladder. But it just sort of there's just so much bad competition, and so I think, to get to my point, I think from what I'm seeing by looking at the ticket website is there's going to be better crowds. I think NDSU in the regular season last year averaged 16,000, which is still fine, by the way.
Yeah.
I think that might trend upward, especially if they beat Jacksonville State, which is not a guarantee.
Yep.
They're going to beat Fordham. If they would happen to go, if they beat Jack State, they beat Fordham, they go into Colorado Springs and somehow beat the Falcons, then I think people will go, okay, this is all right. They have a shot here of doing something pretty special this year. If it trends the wrong way, if they lose to Jacksonville State, Bison are only a 7.5-point favorite, by the way, folks, not a 37-point favorite like they would have been over.
That's come down, by the way. I think it was a 10 to start.
At 10,
in the middle of the summer.
Down to 7.5, that's fine.
Yep.
If they start 1-2, then people are going to go, well, what the heck are we doing here?
Right.
But let's see how it goes.
I got a few emails here to ask you about that sent in before you came in. Dom and Mike, a partial solution to NDSU's ticket problem seems pretty obvious to me. They need to have a better price on corner seating. It solves 2 big problems. It looks bad to have massive corners empty in the dome. And 2, games are pretty unaffordable to families right now. These corners could be promoted as family sections and be, say, $35 a ticket.
Yeah, I saw somebody with that same, almost word for word, on Twitter this morning. The trouble is, you can't start discounting tickets because A, they need the revenue.
Yes.
B, like, where do you draw the line?
Right.
I mean, so is it the first 10 rows that are $35 or $25?
Or the last 10 rows?
And then that's what I mean. The last 10 rows are $25, but the 11th row is $53?
Yeah.
I mean, where do you...
Yeah.
Then what? Then nobody's going to buy the 11th row because they're going to try to buy the 10th row. It's in a... I understand that if it's a 30,000-seat stadium and there's clearly seats at the top level that are worse than other seats, but a corner seat in the dome is still not a bad seat.
Right.
Like, what's the difference between the section, like where the opposing fans sit, the top of that section
on the west side of the dome,
and the top of the next section? There's no difference.
Nothing
and so one is
discernible.
53.
No,
So
right.
and you can't knock down the ticket price across the board, which I've heard, because that's just a math problem. Because
right,
I've done the math. You get into the weeds, but if you sell 100 tickets at $50, it still equals more money than selling 200 tickets. It's the same amount of money as selling 200 tickets at $25.
You're not coming out ahead.
No, it's a numbers, math, money thing.
Here's one more we're going to do before break. Dom, longtime listener and watcher, I agree with you on the notion NDSU fans have found other interest after COVID, especially fans with families, and the dynasty dominance was a factor. However, the Fargo Dome is bleeding. The Dome, being only the fourth FBS Dome stadium, needs a dramatic renovation in terms of seating, atmosphere, amenities, and technology. We shouldn't see still available or going fast for tickets. Unless a major makeover happens soon, the sold-out games, besides one or maybe two a year, will be a thing of the past. I'm sick and tired of hearing no plans or changes are being discussed or in development.
But they are, though. But I will have a column out later today.
Okay.
That there's things happening again on that front.
Says it's unacceptable. It sits in the current state for football, concerts, and other events. I also think unless a major donor comes along to donate the means for renovation or new dome, the city and people will not act and allow the dome to fade into darkness.
No, I don't think so. I think there's going to be enough push. You can't let the Fargo Dome go to seed.
No.
I mean,
you can't let what happened to the Civic happen to the Dome.
And that won't happen. The problem is
who's paying?
Who's paying for it?
That's always been the thing.
I don't want to give away.
Don't.
But there's
the crux of it is who's
the
who's
crux
paying.
of it is, and part of it, frankly, is that North Dakota State does not want to pay anything to fix the dome. North Dakota State does not want to pay anything to fix the dome.
Yeah.
Their take on it.
You wrote that a few months ago. Yeah.
It's not our building.
Yeah.
Period. That's their, and I don't know if that's going to fly.
Yeah.
And the city of Fargo's broke, by the way, too. So those two things combined, I mean, the city of Fargo just has no money.
It's not flown because in the vote, the voters shot it down because they assumed that it was a Bison deal. It wasn't just for the whole Fargo Dome. It was just for Bison football.
Right, but in
my opinion.
That's part of why people shot it down, yes. But it's also, part of that is true because NDSU is pushing to get what they want.
It. Yep.
Sorry, I mean, it's just the way it is.
Also, I don't think it was pushed properly either in terms of to the voters. I don't think certainly the first time it went up for a vote, it was not. In my opinion.
No, right. And the second time was, remember, the first time it got over 50%.
Yeah, the second time it got less.
The second time it got less than 50%, and so they're going the wrong direction.
Yep. Let's break. I'm going to come back. I got to get Mike's thoughts on what happened Friday night in college athletics, whether it's the Protect College Sports Act, that what apparently is not done, and some other athletes that still have eligibility. We'll do that on the other side of the break. Hot Mike rolls on here on a Tuesday morning. We're back right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour. One more email came in, Michael, I want to share before we move on. Dom and Mike, if ticket price is part of the issue for people not going to games, wait until next year when prices will go up. UNLV game cost me $120.
120 clams to go to that game in Vegas, huh?
And Matt, right, because it's not guaranteed that the schedule will invert, but in theory, Air Force, Nevada, Hawaii would come here in Vegas.
I think that's part of it. The money is an issue. I mean, life is expensive right now. And it's easy for me to say, well, it's only $50, but I get into games for nothing.
Correct.
My wife does, and sometimes daughter do go to games. They do pay. But honestly, and I'm careful saying this because $50 is a lot of money, but $50 for a college football game is not a lot of money. It just isn't, and it's going to go up. There's no doubt about it. But it comes down to, if you're going to do this, you have to pay for it.
Right. And you're not getting any television money for the next 5 years to do this.
No.
So,
It's amazing to me, though. I did see yesterday, like I think your guy Brett McMurphy, namesake of the McMurphy Cup, tweeted out that some programs are going through Costco to sell tickets.
Yes,
but like, was it Florida International? Like every seat's $11. I mean, North Dakota State's in a tough spot because they get basically $7.31 from the state of North Dakota for athletics.
Right. Correct.
And all these other schools, they just get a ton of money. Tons of money. James Madison gets like 85% of its athletic budget is through student fees. And Bison get almost nothing through student fees, relatively speaking. But $11, I mean, the Dome would sell out in 31 seconds if the NDSU could afford to have $11 tickets, they would do it, but they just can't afford to do it.
I got to get your thoughts on what went down Friday night. What was more head spinning in terms of following Ross Dellinger's really intrepid reporting on the Protect College Sports Act, which we thought this time last week was dead as a doornail. Now it appears there's going to be
at least a vote.
John Thune's going to bring this to the Senate. Or that this judge in Colorado decided to throw everything up in the air and reinstate eligibility.
Yeah, I mean, the judge one is, I mean, we are not surprised by that. Like everything the NCAA has done for the last 5 or 6 years has been challenged in court.
Yes, and they've lost.
And they've lost. But in this case, it's like, yeah, they lost because why do the 23s get an extra year, but the 22s don't? I mean, of course they were going to get sued over that.
Yep.
So that didn't surprise me because everything is just chaos. But the Big Ten and SEC getting on the bandwagon for the Protect College Sports Act, that did surprise me.
Because they were strongly against that.
And here's what I'll say is if by some miracle of Ted Cruz, this thing gets through the Senate, and then by some miracle of the absolute insanity and just Lulu cuckoo birds in the House, if it somehow gets through the House and becomes law, that is a major upset, like a huge, wow moment. Will it save college sports? I don't know about that. But what I've heard from everybody, whether it's Matt Larson, whether it's Gloria Navarez, whether it's Tim Powlsek, at least it's something.
Yeah.
At least there's something there where you can say, okay, we're going to stop just the crazy train of realignment for at least a while here, because I think if this thing passes, what you're going to see is with the major conferences capped at 19, that leaves only a handful of spots then open for those conferences to poach from the group of 6. And even, do they really even want to do that?
I don't know if they want to do that.
Because you're splitting up the pie and all of that. And so to keep Florida State in the ACC, because if they move to another power conference, if this passes, they would have to be an independent for 5 years.
Yes.
Which is a death knell.
Yes.
Like nobody's going to move from the AC, which is the whole point.
Right.
Nobody's going to move from the ACC to the SEC if they have to be an independent for 5 years. So my larger point here is, and you and I talked about this very briefly at practice yesterday, is for NDSU, I think this is a good thing in terms of conference realignment.
Yes.
Because they're there already.
They're in the party.
I mean, they're and that's part of what they've said all along is we just want to be there. When whatever happens, happens.
Yep.
But if you're in Brookings or Grand Forks or wherever, you're going, well, okay, I mean, is movement just going to stop here completely? Because if it does, then until at least, 2031 or 32, you're an FCS, which if that's what you want and that's what they say they want, then that's
Godspeed to it.
I don't believe it fully, but if that's what you're saying, then okay, then you should be okay with it then.
Correct.
But I mean, we advocated for this for years, and NDSU I think is going to look pretty smart if they can afford it, if everything goes, that's the big,
questions
we'll
we don't
see.
have answers
but
to
if,
yet.
But if things kind of stay the way they are in college sports and stabilize, NDSU's going to, and Sacramento State too, frankly,
Yes, got
are
in.
going to come out of this looking pretty smart, I think.
What do you think of the idea of Notre Dame then maybe going to the Big Ten, and that's the 19th Big Ten team? Notre Dame's out there, right?
But do they want to, though?
Well, they've always preached
Right,
independence,
they don't want to.
but that would be interesting. Or if they
But
say
they get their own deal from
They do.
NBC
They do
for
get a
like
ton of money.
$10 billion.
They get a ton
So
of
what?
money.
They have their own thing going.
Yeah. Unless the Big Ten wanted to kick out somebody and go get North Carolina and Florida State.
Yeah, okay. You talk.
I'm just saying.
You talk about lawsuits. Yeah, okay. Northwestern, bye. Purdue.
That's what I thought of right away.
I mean, but this is how crazy college sports is and why you couldn't do that. 3 years ago, Indiana would have been out.
Correct.
Like they were as bad as
The worst.
They were literally the worst major college football program in history. So they would have been. Indiana would have been out of the Big Ten if Tony what's his name Petiti would have said, okay, we're going to pare ourselves down to 7 teams or whatever, 12 teams,
right.
and then add. Indiana would have been first on the list.
They would have ran the chopping block.
And now they're the best college football program in the country. Like 3 years later.
Yep.
Because of NIL and the transfer portal. So
can't do that.
No. Good luck with that. Good luck kicking Vanderbilt out of the SEC.
What's your gut feeling? Does this pass? Does it pass the House? I think it's going to pass the Senate. Will it pass the House?
Does it need 60 votes in the Senate?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get through the Senate.
And then it just needs a majority in the House.
Well,
right?
Yeah, but is that? I think that might be. I don't know.
That's one where my side might screw things up in the House. I think.
Think so?
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right.
I'll be mad. I'll be big mad at my side.
Thanks for coming by. It's good to see you as
Yes.
always. Mike McFeely joins us each and every Tuesday. His appearances are brought to us by Sunset Lanes over in Moore. Get over there. You got a month to go, right? Got another deal to get in there with league going starting next month. Let's break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. The Fargo Little Leaguers are set to go to Indianapolis. We'll visit with 2 of their coaches here in studio. We start hour 2 right after this.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Halfway home here on a Tuesday morning. I mentioned off the top of the show, it's big baseball week here in town. Obviously, Fargo Post 2 is heading out to the Central Plains Regional out in Mandan later this week. We got the intermediate team playing in the World Series in California, and the Fargo Little Leaguers will leave later this week for Indiana. It's become a tradition. We have the guys in studio. The first week of August, we can book it. Eric Grande's back in studio, head coach. Brandon Hayes, assistant coach, joins us here. Boys, it's great to see you. Congrats. And this is what, your 4th separate rodeo going to Indiana?
Yeah, 4th time around.
You know it like the back of your head, right? You can just drive the bus, right?
Yeah, I wish I could. Yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, no, we're all excited for it. Hopefully for another good week.
Tell me about signing up and doing this. Obviously, I know you love it. You love baseball, but what about coaching this specific age group? What appeals to you about that?
I'm just a big fan of Little League in general. I've always been, since my kids started playing back in, the 19, 18, 17, when we started to do this Little League stuff. I'm just a really big fan of Little League, so I just really like to promote it, and it's just it's different than travel baseball. It's a more simpler game, and you don't have the stealing and stuff like that, and it's really focus on the fundamentals of the kids and not so much the strategies that you have to deal with. So I'm just a big fan of it, and I just want to continue coaches as long as they'll let me, I suppose.
Brandon, is this your first go around of doing this?
It's my first time.
How'd you get roped in on doing this?
So I coach a lot of these kids throughout the summer, and was asked, and knowing Eric's there, I really trust him. He's a great guy to work with, and more than anything, I love working with these kids, given the opportunity to keep playing with them. 12-year-olds are so much fun when it comes to baseball. They enjoy the game. They have fun with it. If they lose, they let it go right away. They can practice. They'll play hard for you, but also they like to have fun, and they kind of bring that joy of baseball back, something that as you get older, it becomes more and more competitive, and you worry more and more about the wins and losses. 12-year-olds don't care, man. they don't like to lose, but they come here to have fun and to be with their friends. and it's just so much fun to be a part of that.
What have you heard about the bus trip that you got coming up tomorrow?
Bus trip's going to be interesting, yeah. I think, we got about 8 hours or so tomorrow, and, it'll be fun. I think a couple headphones and maybe shut them down for a little bit and try and get some work done. But, no, excited to be with everybody and spend that time with them.
From afar, what appealed to you about getting in and doing this?
I really enjoy working with the kids. I really do. An opportunity to kind of see this experience through their eyes. We all see it on TV and everything, and it's this great thing, and you see the kids doing it. But as you coach the kids, excuse me, and you get a personal relationship with them, you want to see that firsthand and kind of play it through. So really, really excited to be a part of this.
All right, Eric, we're 3 years removed from the Fargo team going to Williamsport. What have the benefits, or what's been the offshoot that maybe you guys didn't anticipate from that trip 3 years ago?
I don't know that there's anything that came from that we didn't know or didn't understand. I just think that, when that team made it, Chatty's team made it, it actually told us that we could actually do it. It's not just something that other teams get to do, other communities get to do, other little leagues get to do. I think it just reminded us, or just made us aware that, hey, we can actually do this too. So I think maybe just a little bit of confidence, or maybe just more of a realistic expectation of oh yeah, we can do it too. We're not just going there to play in Indianapolis and come home. There's actually a shot that each year we can maybe do it.
The fact that happened, what was maybe the byproduct? Well, there are more kids coming out. Have you seen that over the last 3 years? To say, okay, we saw them play at the biggest spot in Little League. I want to be part of that.
Yeah, I don't know that there's been any more kids involved with trying out. I think it's usually about similar, each year. And I don't know the reason for that. If people just don't want to do it, or maybe you're adding an extra team to an already busy season.
Right.
So you just don't want to have to give up that time to do that as well, and you never know what's going to happen. So, no, but I think kids get excited for it. That's for sure. They get excited come the end of July, and this year's been a little bit different with the moving of the dates around and stuff like that. So it has given more kids an opportunity in our program.
Yeah.
So, it's just I don't know that there's the numbers probably haven't changed a whole lot, but I think the expectation after they did it in 23 changed a little bit.
I got to ask, we were showing at the start of the show, the 25 team that you coach is playing right now out in California. What kind of pride do you have seeing these guys? They're 2 wins away from winning this thing.
Right, yeah. No, I'm so happy for these guys. To be in that huddle at the end of last year when it didn't go the way we wanted it to in that last game, and to see them fulfill that this year in their regional and to get where they wanted to go, I couldn't be more proud of that team. And Hans is such a great coach, and he's so good with those kids. They were able to get Mike Mortensen from last year. He's Charlie's dad, and Charlie Kalbrenner's down there with him too.
Yeah.
So I think that's another spark into their system to have a kid that's done the little league stuff and whose brother's on the team and whose dad helped coach.
Yeah.
It's kind of another cool story. So real proud of those guys, and I hope they keep having fun and playing.
Brandon, we saw shots from the broadcast last night, the parents in there. How big a deal is that to have the parents not necessarily be over-involved? They're supportive. They're not what we hear sometimes in sports, the helicopter parents. How big a deal is that to have team success?
You love it. I mean, to see the families involved and be a part of this, and even riding the bus with us too. I mean, it really is a family thing. And I think the more the families get involved and the more that they can enjoy their time as well, it breeds success right down to the team. It gets the kids more excited to be there, and it becomes just that much more of a family thing. So it's great to have them. They're so supportive, and we were talking about Little League being this great organization, and it really is family-based and trying to get everybody together. So it's a great thing to have the families there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you went to Williamsport, but you weren't coaching that particular year, right? What would be your takeaway of that? Like, I gotta take a team here. Like you've done it to the regional. I want to do this too.
Going there was very. I had an expectation of what it was going to be like, and then you get there, and it's way more better than what I thought it was going to be. They call Disney World a magical place, right?
Yep.
And this is for a baseball guy, it's a magical place because to see those kids run out on that field, no matter if they're your team or other teams, it's just a fantastic place. So, it was. It's always a place you want to go back to.
Yeah, right. After you get there, right?
You get there, you see it, and you'd be like, I want to take a team there. And, I mean, it's not – I've been there, done that. But to see the kids' reaction, to be able to get there, and that's something that I'd like to see.
For people that don't follow this, and maybe it's the one time a year they pay attention, this upcoming – tournament, this wasn't always guaranteed for North Dakota to have a spot. That was only created a handful of years ago, because I remember Alex Sumner and I were talking that it used to be the North Dakota champ would have to play the South Dakota champ just to get a spot in this tournament you're going to now.
Yep.
That's changed since the advent of basically Fargo youth baseball here in town.
Yeah, they changed that back in what it was 20.
I want to say it was like
it was 18.
Yeah, I want to say at least about 8-9 years ago now they
so
changed that.
the first team had to go down and beat South Dakota.
That was the biggie,
I believe.
Yeah.
But
there's a team from Rapid City, I believe they beat, and Rapid's always good.
They're always good.
Yeah.
Now it's Sioux Falls that seem to be getting there each year, but it's been it's been a good ride for Fargo youth baseball, getting back to the Little League each year. And we just hope, we tried to reach out to communities throughout North Dakota because we want more teams to do it. We want the Bismarcks, we want the Grand Forks, the Jamestowns, any of those communities. It'd be great to have a real, true district, so it's just not you're playing one team or two teams. It'd be great to have a real district and make it, real exciting to win the state so that you can go to the regionals and be real exciting to win the regional too. It's just more of a better experience.
Are you seeing momentum with that, with other communities start to do that?
Hard to say. I think Bismarck might have a team coming next year.
Good.
I think they got chartered this year, just didn't have enough time to do it. So I think they're going to plan on doing that. You never know with, what kids, if they change their minds by doing travel or whatever. But, the West Fargos and the Moorheads who have had them in the past, not sure what their plans are, and Mayville's been in there the last 2 years, so hopefully they can continue to have a team in it as well.
What have you heard about this trip to Indiana, and what are you most excited about now going and having front row seat to everything?
Honestly, I'm just most excited about seeing the kids out there in their element, competing at their highest level, and enjoying it.
You're going to get some TV time. Are you ready for that in this coming week, Eric?
TV time, yeah. I think we'll be okay there. But, it's for us, it's fun. For them, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Totally.
So, I mean, to just be able to support that and be with these kids and families that I've been with for some of these kids, 4 or 5 years I've been working with them. So just to kind of see it come to this spot, and 12U baseball is a special thing. The field is smaller. You're still, you play to the size of the field.
Yeah.
You can hit home runs. You can have dominating pitching, but everybody kind of has their spot. It's kind of that perfect age. So I just can't wait to see this through. And, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be memories that it'll be fun to be a part of.
Now, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, they refitted, or it's a brand new complex. It's not new anymore, but a few years ago, right? Because the initial one is not the one that you play at now in Indiana.
The first
correct?
one was Grand Park in Indianapolis, in the north side of Indianapolis, where they'd hosted it most years. The Central Region Little League International actually has their headquarters at Whitestone.
Oh, okay.
And so their headquarters is at
right
the
there.
field
No
that
kidding.
we play at.
Wow.
So it's a beautiful complex, nice park. They hold the Little League Central Region softball tournament there, which I believe was last weekend. So yeah, it's a beautiful facility. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful field. I mean, it's just they take such good care of it. It's in perfect condition. So I'm excited for these kids to get to actually see that.
So the teams there: Davenport, Iowa; Pittsburgh, Kansas; Coon Rapids, Minnesota; Columbia, Missouri; Kearney, Nebraska; Fargo, Sioux Falls, and Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin make up the group. I want to talk about your team when we come back from commercial here, but these are familiar towns. I mean, these are, for you've been down there before, these are almost like yourselves, these are almost
Yeah.
repeat cities that make it every year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of the same cities. The only thing I don't know, because I haven't done that much research on, how many other communities are actually in those, how many does Nebraska have?
Yeah.
Do they have 2? Do they have 4? I have looked in the past, and I think there's some, like Kansas has 3 or 4 teams, that go through it. So Nebraska, I don't know. Whitefish from Wisconsin seems to be there an awful lot.
We know the Iowa teams are always good, right?
Yeah, you got Davenport, you got Johnstown, you got stuff like that. So, yeah, you got a lot of familiar faces, familiar teams, so to speak. So it's it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
All right,
Always different kids, though.
Yeah, right. Let's break. We come back much more with the Fargo Little League guys on their team and what to expect. Their opening game is coming up on Friday. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns here on this Tuesday morning. We're back right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Eric Grande, Brandon Hayes joining us from Fargo Little League. They will begin their Midwest Region tournament coming up on Friday. First game is at Central Time, or is it Eastern? Is it 1 or is it noon? You guys play on Friday. It's 1 Eastern, noon Central. Yeah. You play the team from Iowa right out of the chute. So nothing like get maybe the best team to start with, huh?
They've been a program that's been always tough throughout the years, so you never know. I would tend to think that, what we've done in the past few years, too, would say that they've drawn a tough draw with Fargo North Dakota team. So you never know how it's gonna go, what expectations are for each team. But Iowa always has a good product on the field. So
now it's not true double elimination if you keep winning. The Fargo team has found this out the hard way that if you get to the championship game because of television, I'll say you can blame us and TV that's not a true double elimination. It's one, you got to win the one game to get to Williamsport.
Yep, you got to win the one game, and the goal is to lose on Wednesday because
then you get another chance to come back, right?
It's a funny stat that since this 2017, a team that has won on Wednesday in the championship, they've never won at all.
No kidding.
They've won. So the team that loses Wednesday, that goes to plays in the Thursday morning game,
and has to come back to play,
has won the Thursday morning game every single time, and then came back and won it
on Friday.
On Friday, the winner.
Wow.
So the only exception to that was the COVID year when they took 2 because they didn't have the international. So both teams that made it to the championship were eligible.
Because the Fargo team did that in 23, correct? Then they lose and then won Thursday. But then one Thursday and then one Friday is what I'm saying, right?
No, we won 1-1.
Oh, just 1-1. Okay.
We won on Wednesday, made it to the championship game undefeated, and then we lost.
Oh, that yeah.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
So it's a crazy stat. So I guess you want to lose on Wednesday. And
so there you go. Just take care of business early in the week, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
This is not a full-time job. Just tell me about just taking time away from life to go and do this. How difficult is this?
It's tough. I mean, you got to get everything lined up,
Yeah.
but I mean, in the end, it's so worth it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and I think that's kind of the beauty of our community. Everybody is really proud of what's going on, and just seeing how the kids are treated as celebrities and everything, too, is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And with us as adults, too, I'm lucky enough that I get to go, and, my employer's okay with that. And it's tough, but it's one of those things to be able to do this, not just for yourself, but for the kids and the community as a whole. I think it means a lot to everybody, so it's a reasonable thing.
Eric, I remember talking, I think the first team, Mike Rarick's team when they went out in 17 or 18, that this is long before Zoom was a thing, that parents were taking their laptops and they were they were working remotely before that was even a thing way back when. That's just the norm now, right, for families that want to go and support their kids, right?
Absolutely. Work on the road if you can. And but, for a lot of years, it was, you can plan for it. It's not like, you don't always know that you're going to win the state tournament.
Right.
It just has happened each year, So, plan for it if you can. But, it's you get in a hotel room and you get the laptop out and
get some decent Wi-Fi. You're all set, right?
Get decent Wi-Fi, and you're able to work on the road. And for a lot of people, you can do that these days. Yeah. It's tough for a lot, so it's not easy for everybody.
And it's not inexpensive either. This is an expensive adventure to go and do this.
Yeah, and that's why the kids have done it, and the parents have done such a fabulous job of raising money for our our bus and our transportation down there because that's not cheap
No.
either. So.
Tell us about this group, this team that you put together, and how does the team first get picked, and then tell us about this group in 2026.
Yeah, so we had 2 different leagues this year. We had one Marist League, which included the travel kids, and then we had our normal rec league that included all the kids that played in the Red River Valley League. So after that, we had to do that to make sure that everybody gets their eligibility. Because Little League has these requirements where you have to have so many scheduled games, play so many games in league, and then we had a tryout at the end of, or not at the end of the season, but at the end of June to kind of go over these kids and see who's going to make the team, and so that was picked at the whenever it was in June, and these kids have been still playing a little bit of travel ball, and we've been having some practices, so it's been a busy season for a lot of these kids. Some of them have been on 3 different teams this year.
Wow.
Just not a lot of games on our All-Star League team or Little League All-Star team, but
just playing.
Just playing.
Yeah.
Just playing. So it's been a lot for some of these kids.
For you to be in charge of it, what else do we not know that comes under your, we know obviously you kind of coach the team, but what else encompasses that?
Little League and ESPN, they all have, they got a lot of forms that you got to fill, a lot of things that you got to do. There's room assignments, there's phonetics, spellings, and sayings of all the kids' names. There's waivers for medical waivers. There's so many different hoops that you have to go through, but they're all for good reason, so it's good that they do it for everybody. It's just a lot, and it happens real fast.
Yeah.
So you have to get your ducks in a row and do these things, in a timely manner, and you have to have all the coaches and all the parents, do it for their players too. So you're relying on parents and players and everybody to be able to get stuff done quick.
To make sure this happens, right?
Yeah, and so far everybody's been real great about it. We got all the things we need done, so now we can just hopefully relax and play a little baseball.
So, Brandon, the game is at noon on Friday. Is that good, bad, and different? Would you like to play right away? Some have to wait till 7 o'clock at night to play under the lights. How do you feel about that?
I love a noon game. You get up, get a good breakfast, get to the field, and have your time to get warm up. Waiting till 7 o'clock, that's tough. You're anxious all day. You want to get doing something. These kids are 12. You can't just sit them down and tell them, get ready. They want to get up and get moving. So, that 12 o'clock, that's perfect. They're awake. They're ready to go. Get a nice lunch in them and let them rip.
Eric, you guys are guaranteed 2 games, correct? Anything beyond that, then you're winning, and then take that. So, mentality for that first game. Obviously, you want to win, but you've done this before. How do you address the guys for that first game on Friday?
Yeah, it's a lot of cameras.
Yeah,
I won't say a lot of lights because it's a noon game, but there'll be a lot of people. It's intense.
Yeah.
And the kids got to just try to, get out on the field and breathe a little bit. Just kind of put that stuff, on the side and just say, hey, we've been playing baseball all summer. I've been playing baseball for years and years. I know how to play baseball. Let's just do it today. But it's tough. It's tough. I always tell the kids, baseball's not easy. No matter what.
Hardest game.
And if it is easy, you're doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
So it's a hard sport. It's a lot of strategy. It's a lot of focus on downtime. So it's something that you got to overcome, and the team that does that the best and plays the best catch is going to win a ball game. So.
You got me pumped up. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can help you, but I'll go, So for your entertainment purposes, what do you do on the bus? You got movies lined up? What do you got planned here for the next little bit?
Trying to find some movies, get a little work done. I'm sure the kids will keep us plenty busy with whatever they're doing. So excited to see what they come up with.
Do you have hey, we got to stop here? Is there have you done this before? Baseball is all about superstitions. You have hey, we have to stop here. This worked the last time.
I don't have any superstitions. We have stopped outside of Eau Claire or Madison. I couldn't remember exactly where it was last year. We've stopped in Rogers before we hit the cities. Never stop in the cities because that's crazy nuts sometimes, especially with the bus. And all that. So, get a space for the bus, make it easy on on who's ever driving the bus. But no, we do always stop in Rockford on the way down.
Okay.
That's where we stay because we have some, the bus driver can only go so far.
Yeah.
So we stay in Rockford, get up, we check in 2:15 Eastern on Thursday, so we got to get there for that. And that's when it starts. So it'll be exciting time.
Now, a couple years ago when Gigstead was the head coach, we had him on like every day because it was good luck. We had him on, they won. So if this happens, if you want to free your schedule up, I'll clear anything and make sure you're on the show every day. So.
Yeah, it's always fun to talk, and let the community maybe know what's going on and how the kids are and that kind of stuff, because there's so many people that have donated time, donated money for these kids. So it's always nice to try to help them have a little bit part of it too. So
now, last thing, are you guys packing for like 3 weeks? Like, hey, if we win, we're going right to Williamsport. Are you planning on doing that here?
Never. No. Pack for a few days, and if you have to go to the Walmart or Target or something, and be happy to do it because that means you're winning.
Yeah.
So
it's great to see you guys both. Thanks so much for coming in studio. Safe travels and good luck on Friday. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Eric Grande and Brandon Hayes joining us from Fargo Little League as they will play on Friday at noon against Davenport, Iowa. You can watch the game on ESPN Plus as they try to get back to Williamsport, first time since 2023. Let's break. We come back. We'll chat some ball. Our guy Troy Mattern will join us as high school football practice begins on Thursday in North Dakota. It's coming up when we come back.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We roll on here on a busy Tuesday morning. Our thanks to our guys from Fargo Little League for coming by. If I know Little League is getting, that also means high school football is starting, which is a perfect segue for our next guest. This is also a tradition to have Troy Mattern join us in the studio, head coach of the Shanley Deacons. What's going on, my man? How you been?
Just think about the number of years we've done this.
It's quite a bit.
And I keep coming back and back and back, and here we are again. But for some reason, it seems like this summer went fast.
Yeah.
I know we say that every year,
Yeah.
but for some reason, this summer was a blink of an eye, and August 6th is Thursday. So
Well, don't even get me started on you guys start too early because you start too early. But
yeah, and it's good to have that extra week. I know we tried it where we only had 2 weeks before our first game.
Yeah.
To have that third week is
Yeah.
actually nice, so you can kind of spread out fall camp, go a little shorter. But it's good. It'd be nice if we maybe didn't play till September, but we're here.
So I asked you off air. This is year 29 overall in coaching for you.
It is.
That's
yeah.
awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, it started way back at Richfield High School. Coached first game against Larry Fitzgerald, and I thought,
Who's going into the Hall of Fame next week or this week?
High school football is really good. Is it always like this? But not all athletes are like him.
No.
But, yeah, 29 years later, here I am.
Man.
This will be my 10th year at Shanley already, which
that's
is hard
crazy.
to believe. But
Yep.
time flies, and I still love what I do, and it's a lot of really good athletes have rolled through our programs, and it just makes it fun, and we're excited about the upcoming team.
I got to ask you, you and I always had a really frank relationship of, Beth Maher was here a few months ago after what happened at Shanley. I'm interested. You've been there that long. What is it that's going through Shanley? Why coaches are being turned over as much as they are?
Yeah, we could spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
That's a tricky question. But no matter what, when you're in the profession, you just don't want anybody to be let go or fired or whatever you want to call it. And it was a tough situation. I thought Beth was doing an excellent job in the girls program, but unfortunately there's a lot of voices that get heard and whether it's right or wrong. But, I thought Beth was on your show and with her husband, and I thought they did a great job. But at the end of the day, what can we do as a collective group coaching? Because we're turning over a lot of coaches in this profession, and they get younger and younger. And what's that mentorship that we're giving them? We go to coaching conventions. I speak at them all over the place, and you just don't see a lot of young coaches. And I think we as older coaches need to do a better job in mentoring these coaches, so when things do happen, they know how to respond to them. But yeah, it was an unfortunate situation. Obviously, Coach Weber's on my football staff. For him to be removed too, it's never fun. It's hard. He still has to walk the halls as a football coach, and he's so well liked amongst the kids. So it's a hard situation, but we have to move on, and hopefully these new people can do the job.
How have you dealt with it? Because I know you have.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that when the amount of success you've had that someone says, "I want Mattern out of here"?
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of it. But when they do attack your program, because I'm blessed to have the same coaches, and we think we run a really good program, not just worried about the high school kids, but we start with our fourth graders, and we run a true program. So I think when somebody attacks your culture, attacks your program, first and foremost, it hurts because the amount of time and effort we put into what we do for, obviously nobody coaches for the pay, but the investment that this coaching staff makes, the time we take away from our wives, our families, our day job, there's a lot that goes into coaching high school football. It's not just showing up Thursday and we're going to figure out what we're doing. We started preparing right after we lost out in November last year. So it's a year-round job now, and you have to invest in these kids literally every day. So it's unfortunate, but it's unfortunately just like anything, the silent or the small 10% get a voice. And what can we do, whether it's administration, whether it's coaches, we just got to make sure those people don't get a voice because it might not be the right voice.
The vocal minority,
yeah,
I call it.
Exactly, yeah. And
I'm interested in, have you ever been to the break, like, I don't want to do it anymore? Have you ever felt that way after dealing with some of that off-field stuff?
A couple years ago was tough. You know, we had first losing season in my career, and was that because I'm a bad coach? Was that because we're a bad coach? We run a bad program? Many people thought so, but I don't think that's the case. You're going to have ups and downs. Shanley's supposed to recruit, right? But we don't get to recruit and bring in the athletes we need to fill our gaps. And sometimes you're going to go through seasons that you just, they're not going to be as successful as others, and you have to live through it. But I hope people can see in totality what you're trying to achieve as a program, not just from 1 year or so. But yeah, we've definitely had tough moments. We have such a high standard at Shanley that every loss is difficult for us. And so after that season,
and get scrutinized too.
Oh yeah, we do. So after that season, I thought long and hard about, but I owe it to our kids. I owe it to this coaching staff. I owe it to the Shanley alumni to keep this ball rolling.
I got to ask, how difficult was the end of last season to have the start you had and then miss out on the postseason?
Yeah, it still bothers me the way AAA football is structured. In essence, half of our season doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, and we were the only team to go undefeated in non-conference, which we found out didn't mean anything, right? But I think the hardest thing is, that Horace game was such a wild game.
Yes.
It went to overtime, and we had a coach following the West Fargo score on the headsets, and they went up big, and we got to win this football game, and we were down like 2 scores at the time.
It came down to point differential, literally, for whoever was going to win the game was going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate. You beat 2 teams that have losing records pretty badly, and they're in the playoffs. But we knew going into the season that's the structure, and that's what we got to do. And it's going to be no different this year. The East is very good again, and we know we got to win the games in the Eastern Conference when they count.
We could get a whole other 2-hour show on fixing the state playoffs, huh?
Yeah, we're on the
Does anybody think of you the same mindset you do of like this? Top 8 worked. I don't know why we went away from that.
Yeah, I think everybody's so different. I think the West is against it. I know Gibby's definitely
not in favor of it.
Yeah. So we like that, but I think it's just the QRF. People don't understand it.
Yeah.
So the best way not to do it is don't use it, right? But and I think we're a lot of traditionalists in the state. We've had the East Side and the West Side for since the beginning of time. So that's what people like. But we're in the last year of a rotation here, so we're hoping next year that maybe we can get back to 8 in each conference, and we're hoping that's a plan. We should find out this offseason.
Well, I imagine Minot North is going to move up to AAA.
Yeah, and we're hearing the Grand Forks schools possibly are back up, and then maybe pull one more from the West. Is that Dickinson? We don't know. But, yeah, I think Minot North for sure has to move up.
Let's talk about 2026. You open up with Century. That's easing into the schedule to start the 2026 season. Tell us about what the Deacons look like this upcoming fall.
You know what? We just met last night as a staff for a little bit, and we've probably had one of the best off seasons we've ever had in the weight room in terms of speed. So we're a very athletic team. We got a new quarterback, but we're really excited about him. The Perkarovich kid, he was an excellent receiver.
Athlete.
Yeah,
so really good athlete.
He's going to move to quarterback, so I don't think we're going to lose a step there. And our team speed is good. Up front, we're young, so we got to mold those guys probably quicker than they want to. But that's what the beauty of high school football is. You never know until you get in the trenches who's going to step up and do whatever. But most importantly is we're physically ready to go, because you never want to go into a season when you're physically not ready, but our kids are physically ready now. They just got to get used to the speed of the game. So the advantage of having half your games not count when you're a young team, it's not.
You're in favor of that, right?
It's not a bad thing, but we're excited to go out to Bismarck Century. They were in the title game last year.
Yes.
We beat them to start the season.
Yep.
It's always fun to play in the bowl. This will be the first game on their new turf. They did a little revamp out there. It's a Thursday night game, so we'll get a nice statewide crowd, and we're excited.
How odd is it going to be to play West Fargo and Jay Gibson's not going to be there?
Yeah, it's funny because we did some 7-on-7 over at West Fargo with Petey, and they never did that.
No!
So I think it was a culture shock for those kids that
What's
they're going
going
to start
on?
doing that.
Yeah.
So but we're still going to see him. Obviously,
Yes.
he's at Davies
Yep.
now, and Jay's a legend in the state, and it's always fun to cross paths with
For
him.
your time at South, and obviously him at West Fargo, then obviously when you go to Shanley, I can think of 10 games coming right off the top of my head. Like, man, that was unbelievable football game.
We've had so many rivals,
Yes.
but I think they probably more so when we date back to the Southwest Fargo.
Yes,
when,
totally.
When those schools were so big
Yes.
before any of the splits, there were a lot of athletes rolling through those games.
The rise of players in the area, you've seen it firsthand. Why has it got so good so quickly, Troy, in your mind?
I don't know if it's gotten better. Well, it has gotten better. I think it's gotten deeper, but I think just the exposure these kids are getting now with social media, obviously the Bison, what they've created since they moved up and now moved up even more.
Yeah.
I think we've just gotten so much more national exposure, regional for sure, but national exposure that these kids are getting that, there might be some good kids in North Dakota where in the past they were either Bison or Sioux, but now they're getting the looks of the major colleges. Obviously, like Kleiman going to K-State, and all these coaches that have been part of the NDSU program are now. You got Ants, so you got Vegan. So all those guys understand North Dakota. They understand our culture, and it's just becoming such a national brand now. So it's great for the kids and the exposure that they get.
I'll distinctly remember just a couple of James Johannesson getting sniffed when the University of Minnesota started coming around. Like, boy, that's a big deal.
It was,
and now it's commonplace now.
It is,
which
yeah,
is crazy.
100%, yeah. Yeah, I remember Jerry Kill coming into my classroom when I was still teaching. It's like, holy cow, we got a Big Ten coach here in a Fargo middle school looking to take one of our players. But now that becomes, we hear from those guys all the time now, and it's just, and
it's almost second nature, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part about it.
And it's really become so camp driven. These kids are spending a lot of hours on the road going to these 1-day, 2-day camps, and it becomes basically a job interview for the future.
You know when it got big time is when you sent a kicker to the Power Four.
Right.
And he's still kicking. He's still got another year. Emmett
Yeah.
Kenny's back at Stanford again this
It
year.
is. That's exciting, yeah. And he'll obviously have a good year, and he'll have a shot.
He'll have a
next
shot at the
level.
NFL.
He will.
Totally,
Yeah,
right?
100%, yeah. And actually, when the Bison are out at San Jose, Stanford plays the next day, so that might be a
little double dip there?
That'd be a nice little road trip to go see both teams play.
I got one email here. We got to roll. Asking you planning on keeping your night gig as WDAY analyst or being in the Dakota Bowl? I think I know the answer to that question this year.
Like I tell Stacy, that is the worst email I get throughout the year, because that just tells me my season is done. So if I don't hear from Stacy,
that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
That's
but
a good thing.
I love doing that. It's because we play those teams throughout the year, so I obviously have inside information. But I'd rather have that as more of a retirement gig than an in-season gig.
Is that something you're thinking about being done?
No, I would love to, get into analyst type things. And it's fun. It's just a great way to stay around the game.
Another email comes in that Darren got 3 after obviously Century won the state championship. You have 4, so I mean you got to keep coaching to stay ahead of him, right?
Yeah, and he's got a nice team.
I know they're not going to be bad again this season.
They're not going away anytime soon. But trust me, we keep that on the back of our mind, and I can't let Big Brother pass me on that. So
I think I asked him when he was last on about him coaching football. Did you ever dabble at all in basketball coaching?
When I first started in education, I did some middle school basketball, but never. It's just, for me, it's such a long season, and it's hard when you become a head coach to coach anything else just because of the demands you got to put in. But I was really a baseball guy when I first started.
Right.
That was because I played at UND, and my ultimate goal was to always be a baseball coach. And then they needed help in football and got in and haven't left since.
How would Darren be as on your staff? How would that work? Have you ever thought about that?
That'd be interesting. Well, based on
or vice versa,
based on the phone calls he gives me every week, he's got the answers for.
Oh, he sure he does.
What teams are running?
Why are you doing this?
You got to watch for this and that, and Darren, we have film too. We can see it.
Two last things. You got to give me like top 3 guys you've ever coached against. Who are the top 3 players you coach? Take Larry Fitzgerald out of it, okay? Top 3 that you've faced. Not you've coached, but you've faced against.
Obviously, you got to start with Carson Wentz.
I would say Carson's on there.
That was early in my head coaching career. We had some great games with him, but he would be on the top of the list. Petchak, obviously, he was dominant. The men's kid there too.
Yeah.
And 3 becomes a pretty short list. When we, the Hartness twins at Davies, they were excellent.
I give you nightmares still, right?
Right. They were so good. And obviously you got Esley Thornton out at Bismarck and all those Bismarck teams. They just had so many different the Feeney boys when they were quarterback. I mean, out at Century.
Yeah.
So there's
Dalton and Cade were both
they were
really
dudes.
good
players. So many different athletes.
I got to ask you before you go. Kevin was obviously here last week, and I know there's a lot of hard feelings on the Fargo side, Troy, of what's gone down where Drew Kessel leaves South, Cullen Coper left South, another player left Davies to go to Moorhead. What's your thoughts on that? Because obviously, I think fans on the outside, well, Shanley goes and takes anybody they want, no matter where they live.
Yeah, and I'm very poor at that. I'm not the best recruiting coordinator. Everybody thinks we do a good job of that, but we don't. But like I was telling you off air, I think that this is kind of going to be the start of where we're going in high school athletics. You see it in, Coach Huber, Steve Huber. He's the head coach down in Phoenix now, and they got kids rolling in and out of their program each and every year. So I think we're just on the cusp of, I don't want to say super teams, but I think we're going to see a lot of kids bouncing around the metro to kind of get with, try to get to that program where, one, they're going to get the most exposure to get a chance because, look at what these colleges are offering through NIL, full scholarship, the cost of attendance. I mean, the financial, benefit of getting exposure is huge right now. So it's going to be interesting where this goes and because there's a lot of families that have a lot of resources that they can sell and buy homes or townhomes or apartments and make it happen. So I think, we definitely got to be aware of it because especially at Shanley, if I lose a basketball kid to another school, chances are he's a good football player too. Or I lose a baseball kid, and I know, like you mentioned, the metro teams, those programs changed overnight by those losing your best players. And I know if we lost a couple of our good players, we would be in a whole different situation too.
It's great to see you as always. Good luck this year. I know we'll be talking throughout the season. Thanks so much for doing this. I love every year we get a chance to preview the year.
Absolutely. So. And let's keep Stacy off my out of my inbox.
That's on
this
you.
year.
That's on you to do that.
Right. All right.
Great
Thanks,
to see you, bud. There he is. Troy Mattern joins us here to get ready. The Deacons open up practice on Thursday. Game 1, August the 27th at Century. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll put a bow on things. Get you ready for a busy Sports Tuesday. Hot Mike will wrap up right after this. All right, wrapping things up. That was a busy show. This might be our first time we had all in-studio guests. That was great. Appreciate Troy coming by. We'll have much more for high school football. I believe tomorrow one of our favorite guests will join us from lovely Beach, North Dakota. They have the first high school football practice of the year out in Beach tomorrow at 1 a.m. Central, midnight Mountain Time, to officially get us going for the 2026 high school football season in North Dakota. I got a couple other emails to get in here, but going back to the question on crowds and seating and tickets for the Dome. I think we need to fill the seats. We all understand the current situation of prices on gas, food, and other essentials. Drop the prices of those seats. Not saying I have all the answers, just my opinion. Love the show. It's not dropping. I'm going to tell you that right now. And, in fact, it's going to go up. North Dakota State has to find revenue that they're not getting elsewhere, most notably television, because they're not part of the Mountain West TV deal for the next 5 years, that they've got to find money from the stone. First place is tickets. I'd look right at there specifically, like 2027, we know they have one home game on the schedule right now, Sacramento State. They'll have another non-conference, and then the 4 league games. Those are going to be more expensive than what you're looking at right now. It's just a matter of fact. Let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. All right, What to Watch brought to us by our friends at Northwestern Mutual. Twins in action tonight. Big one as they start with the Royals, 6:30 on Twins TV. Tarek Skubal makes his debut as a Dodger. That's on TBS tonight at Wrigley Field as they take on the Red Hot Cubs. That's at 7 o'clock from Wrigley. And for you soccer nuts out there, I didn't forget you. Minnesota United opens up play in the U.S. Open Cup with FC Juarez. Again, the MLS decided to put everything on Apple TV. I don't know the genius of that, but that's where you can watch it tonight at 7:30. Our thanks to Mike McFeely, to Brandon Hayes, Eric Grande, and, of course, to Troy Mattern. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay of our shows, each and every one of them, on WDAY+. Everybody, have a great day. Thanks so much for making us part of it. Have a terrific Tuesday, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow.